All right, welcome everyone. Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. It is Monday, which means it's book club. We are in the midst of reading Loyalty to Your Soul. We are on, I believe it's chapter 4. This chapter was called Consciousness in a Nutshell. If you're joining me live here on book club, let me know when you get here. And if you're catching the replay, let me know that you're on the replay. If you've got questions, comments, all of that, I'm always here behind the scenes responding to all of them. And I hope you're enjoying this book. It really gets you thinking. You know, kind of last week he talked about the physical world and how we have these goal line wins, these things that we, in our lives, we've probably been taught, right? It's all about achieving, getting acknowledgments, getting rewards, getting possessions in the physical world. And most people don't realize there's a whole other game being played. Hey, Tina, good to see you. And that is in the spiritual realm, spiritual evolution. And he talks about the learning line. And so this is the learning that your soul is here to do, the soul curriculum. And so the question kind of comes to, all right, well, if I start awakening to this, what is my soul actually here to learn? Like, okay, maybe I can get on board with what you're talking about and that there's more to life than, it appears. Because most people, like, you achieve these things that success has and you feel empty. So we all know there's something itching inside of us that's like, okay, there's something more to this. What is that? And what spiritual development talks about is it's this spiritual awareness. It's understanding why your spirit is here, what the soul is supposed to learn. And so the question becomes, okay, well, why am I here? What am I learning? And I think it's really interesting to sit and pause and reflect on this. And I also want to point out something. He didn't particularly talk about it. We kind of talked about it. But the spiritual bypass. So this is something where a lot of people, they hear about, the spiritual development and being more spiritual and just being at peace and loving and all of this stuff. And they start dancing in this space and they believe they've arrived. But the truth is, it's just what the mind has, decided is what this feels like. This motivational speaker, John Bradshaw, talks about how, he did all these blissed out things, but really wasn't actually there, wasn't actually developing his soul. And the spiritual evolution was not happening. Why? Because he was bypassing the emotions. And so many people bypass because it is tough to go through the emotional things. It's tough to go back through our traumas, our triggers. It's tough to hash these out. It takes a lot of courage. And that is essentially what spiritual development is all about. It's about going, okay, I'm going to go and use my humanity. I'm going to go through these things. And once you do that, it opens you up. It's like the secret door opens and now you're able to access that. I was just working with one of my private clients over the weekend with yoga therapy, and we were having this exact discussion. And he was realizing, he said, there's a part of me that wants to address these things, but there's a whole other part of me that just wants to just cut it out and remove it, not have to actually feel it. And I said, yeah, but it's through the feeling. You have to feel it one time in order for these things to really move. Hey, Lou. Okay, so without getting distracted. The question becomes, well, how do I use my humanity? Okay, they talk about this in this book as your ego work. If you've worked with me, this is what I talk about is resolving your grunties, right? These emotional energy blocks, these things from our past. And how do you actually use your humanity? Well, maybe I'm on page 60. Sorry, I'm on page 60. Maybe you've heard me say this, your triggers are your teachers. You guys hear me say that before? This is one of the most profound statements that if you embrace this, you're going to open up that learning line of life. You're going to open up spiritual evolution. And they talk about this. They talk about it in principle number 8. They say healing any and all unresolved issues residing in consciousness. This is principle number 8. This is ego work. He says it is an unresolved issue is anything that disturbs your peace. Once you understand that, so they talk about it as when your peace is disturbed, I call that a trigger. Okay, when you're triggered, when the emotions are like, rah! When you're triggered, all right, what they're saying is when your peace is disturbed, right? They say it a little bit more nicely. This is a learning moment. This is a teaching moment, right? The trigger is the teacher. And what he says is there's what's happening in physical reality, and then there's your reaction. I teach you this equation all the time. If you've been in mastery with me, you know this equation. External world plus what equals your reality. The external world, the physical activity, the thing that occurred, the person, the place, the thing, the situation, plus what actually creates your reality. It's the physical world plus your internal response, right? This external thing plus the internal response. And the internal response is where your work is. This is the thing that got triggered inside of you when that external thing happened. Okay? This is what it's all about. He says, we're on page 61. I'm going to read this. Tina knows. Yes, internal response. All we're suggesting here is that when your peace has been disturbed, you have an amazing opportunity to make spiritual progress regardless of what you perceive caused your upset. So regardless of what happened, you got fired, you lost your health, somebody passed away, all of these things that happen in the external world, somebody cut you off in traffic, right? You burned your food, whatever. Your kid didn't do what you asked them to do. Whatever the thing is, whatever caused the inner disturbance doesn't matter. It's the fact that you found the inner disturbance and you go, oh, that's my work. What is that? All right, that's the whole point of inner management mastery is we learn what those things are and we learn how to resolve them. Okay, so he says, as Bradshaw says, if you don't do your ego work, right, this inner conflict, it will pull you back. This is important to understand. Why? Because that work is a vital part of your spiritual curriculum. The reaction you're having is a vital part of your spiritual curriculum, which is why you keep running into the same people that abandon you, the same people that don't see your worth. You keep running into the same situations. Why? Because there's something inside of you that's being triggered that you need to fix, okay? Because that work is a vital part of your spiritual curriculum, it's what you're here for. It's really what we're all here for. No matter how high you go into spirit, it is your accumulation of yet to be resolved issues, also known in some cultures as karma, right? I taught this to you as internal karma, that will continually provide you with experiences that present what's unresolved. The dynamic is like a rubber band. It can be stretched so far, but it always snaps back. Guys, this is a massive understanding. I think we could just literally have a conversation about this every day of your life for the rest of your life, and that would be all you need. Truly. I mean, truly. Because if you understand that these internal responses, these internal triggers, the reason it seems like, you know, all of these people that you date all end up doing the same things. Why? Because you're coming into all those relationships, right? It's your internal stuff that's being triggered. And when you start to understand that, you see where your work is. You see what you're meant to evolve and develop. It's a shift in inner consciousness. And then that will change everything in the external world. Like, it's amazing how when you change you, the world changes with you, my friends. It totally does. All right. So this is really what my program is all about. And they talk about things in a little bit of a different way. So if you've studied with me for a long time, they kind of name this a little bit differently. If you've not studied with me, then great. You'll get the context in how they share about it. So they talk about, like, you need to understand the dynamics. Like, where does this inner response come from? So they talk about in the rest of the chapter the ego, the mental realm, and the emotional realm. Okay, so what is the ego? So many people think ego is a bad thing. Ego is not bad. Ego is the reason that you know how to wake up and drive your car and speak your language and walk every day. It remembers things. All right, it is very important to have an ego. Egos are really good at producing results in service of fulfilling our desires and ambitions that exist on the goal line. We need the ego for this physical world. He says it's largely through the ego that you do any work in this world, spiritual or otherwise. The challenge of the ego, and this is key, the challenge of the ego is that egos are mechanisms designed to support survival, safety, and security. So your ego operates in a binary. It's like seek pleasure, avoid pain. It's like seek the things that give me survival, safety, security, pleasure. It wants that, and it wants to avoid anything else. That's how it's programmed. You got to understand this. Okay, so the ego, right, your personality, the way that you interact and react with the world, is composed of two distinct levels of consciousness, the mind and emotions, right? Our thoughts and the emotions that come with those thoughts. We've all experienced this. And he says, what's paradoxical is that it's by learning how to work effectively within the ego, within your own emotional responses, within your triggers, right? Working effectively within the ego levels that you complete your spiritual curriculum. And in doing so, automatically then transcend the ego. Like I said at the beginning, it's like a secret trap door opens up. Once you learn how to work with the ego, and you dominate it, it doesn't dominate you. You run it, it doesn't run you. This is when the trap door opens up. This is when you're able to transcend and move past and connect in. All right, so it's only through your humanity. You have to go through the mind, the thoughts, the emotions in order for this trap door, if you will, to open. All right, most unresolved issues are to be found within the ego structure. This is what we mean by you have to go into your humanity. Those unresolved things from your past, the traumas, the way that you interpreted things, like these emotional landmines that are inside of you. That's the stuff we have to work through. He says, we've been taught that being successful in the world is what life is all about. How many of you have been taught that and still are seeking that, right? That it's all about being successful in this world. It's a goal line, guys. That's goal line. Yeah, sure, you can do it. But what happens when you get there? What happens when you have all the things? You've got the free time, you've got the money, you've got everything. You used it all. You've eaten at the best restaurants. You've traveled to the most exotic places. All of your family members have everything they could possibly need and more. Then what? Do you really think you're satisfied? No, that little like inkling inside of you that's like itching, that's saying like something's not right here. There's got to be more than this. Yeah, that still is there. Even when you have all those things. And I promise you, it will come. Like if you've ever gotten a new car, you love it, but like 6 months later, it's kind of worn off, hasn't it? This is what always happens in the goal line, right? In the things of the ego world, because you're missing the learning dimension of the soul. You're missing what they call the learning line. All right. So it comes down to, well, how do we access that? All right. He says, while the soul knows what it's here to do, the ego doesn't appear to have a clue. It doesn't. If you're to sit here and go, well, why am I here? And what am I supposed to be doing? Your ego doesn't know. It can't solve that problem. All right. It doesn't understand that dimension. It's working like on this binary. It can't get into this other dimension. What the ego does have, however, is direct access to the stage upon which the curriculum of life is enacted. It's in this physical world. It's how your soul is existing in the physical world. You need it. The mental and emotional levels are where unresolved issues reside, and thus, on a spiritual path, do well to learn how to recognize and resolve them. Those of you, and if you're listening to this you, if you're on a spiritual path, we are looking for these things so that we can resolve them. I talk about this all of the time, where it's like we're going into the triggers to figure out, okay, what is that? Like, why did I really care that they didn't do the dishes? Like, why do I really care that I got cut off? Like, what is it inside of me that is not feeling whole and complete as I am? That this external world can pull me off like that. All right. And I loved this principle. He says, every time a single person resolves a single issue, angels rejoice and all humanity moves forward in its evolution. We are all, as humanity, evolving on a consciousness level. That is what the evolution is about. It's not physical changes. That's done. It's consciousness shifts. And as you shift in your world, you impact humanity. All right. Every one of us is connected. So the more you shift, the more you can realize, like, my teachers always said, like, enlightenment happens one individual at a time. You can't change the external world. Change yourself first. Go inward, right? They say be the change you want to see in the world because you have to be it in your being. You have to shift and change your ego so you're not reactive. That's what you need to do. All right? He says, it's precisely this work, this learning how to settle unresolved issues, that forms the basis of spiritual psychology. By its very nature, spiritual psychology must be much more than an academic study of concepts. It has to be a living, breathing, process-oriented psychology that fosters movement in support of the soul's evolution. To be effective, it must lead you through successive experiences of awakening. Further, it must provide both a context and practical tools that can foster continued awakening so you are less inclined to fall back asleep. I read that and I went, this sounds like inner management mastery, doesn't it, Tina? This is exactly what I have taught, because Eastern philosophy, the yogis have been studying this for 6,000 years. They've been showing the path, they've been producing the tools and the techniques to help you to awaken. And that is why I teach what I teach. And I love that, spiritual psychology seems to teach it too. And I'm very curious what their techniques are, what they have to offer, because they're bringing a different lens to it. So he talks about the ego, right, having the mental realm and the emotional realm. I think this makes kind of intuitive sense. We'll talk about it. He says, everything a person experiences is stored and categorized in and by the mind. The mind is like an amazing computer with an unbelievable amount of memory, right? It's like a hard drive in there. So every single thing that has ever happened in your life is stored in your mind. And he says, if an experience is well outside of the comfort zone of an individual's past learning, or is perhaps extremely painful, the mind may remove it from awareness so as not to have to deal with it at all. This process, which involves defensive mechanisms like repression and suppression, is often found with people who have had extremely traumatic experiences. For example, a severe accident, an assault, or child abuse. What do we talk about it in Eastern philosophy? We talk about it as grunties, these things, these emotional events from our past that didn't finish clearing through. They get stuck in us because our system amazing that it's able to say, hey, this is too much. My nervous system can't handle this. Like, stop. So these things get blocked in our system, and the mind's amazing. It just pushes it away. Where does it go? It goes into the subconscious. What's the subconscious? It's the body. This is where disease states come from. This is why you have tension in your body. It's these unprocessed things. Surprise! It is fascinating to learn this and then realize how to go resolve these things. Okay? All right. These things will resurface. Ultimately, he talks about Dr. Dolittle and how, I forgot that story, but basically how, the father was, repressing, saying, oh, it's not good that you can talk to animals, you're crazy. And so literally the kid just forgot he could do it. And then all of a sudden, as an adult, right, Dr. Dolittle realizes, I can talk to animals. This is a real thing. It will always come back. These things that we've repressed to be able to kind of move forward, eventually they will come back. And usually when you're an adult, usually when things quiet down a little bit and you're not so pulled into the external world, this stuff bubbles up. And if you're not ready to deal with it, a lot of people just push it back down, and that is going to just cause disease later in your system. I promise you, that's how it works. Okay? I don't know if he's going to get into that, but I can tell you that's how it works. So he says the basic assertion essentially is your mind can misremember things, and your ego can have selective memory. And sometimes just this awareness can dissolve issues. So once you realize that the mind can be faulty, that your memory is not 100%, sometimes things from your past, just by realizing that, it just resolves. It's kind of like when you shine light into a dark room. There's no fight that happens. It's just the light gets rid of the darkness. Just knowing this sometimes resolves a lot of things. It's very, very powerful. Even just getting the mind quiet and the mind out of the way and realizing you're more than the mind. This is what I find in my work and what I teach. This is what I find to be the most beneficial, is to allow you through experience, not just through knowledge, because I can tell you you're more than your mind, you're more than your thoughts, you're more than your ego, you're a spirit having a human experience. I can tell you all this stuff. But if you can actually be guided to access it, to actually touch into it, this is exactly what I do. I can guide you immediately. I don't care if you've never done meditation before. I can take you there within 20 minutes. You'll access this thing beyond your thoughts. And you'll realize kinesthetically within your own being, there is something that is there witnessing. It is there before the thoughts come in. It's there when the thoughts are there. It's there after the thoughts leave. And you'll never not know. You can't unknow. Once you know that, you can't unknow that the mental realm, this physical world reality, is just one aspect. There is something beyond it. Okay? And being able to access that, sometimes just through that, it's called Yoga Nidra, these guided meditations. Just through doing that, it's like all of a sudden things start to resolve. I can't tell you how many of my students say, I'm not as anxious anymore. I'm not as depressed anymore. I'm just calmer. I'm not as reactive. I'm happier. It's like a weight's been lifted. I just feel lighter. What is that? It's because you were starting to access this thing that is beyond the mind, and all of the crazy chatter of the mind is stilling down. You're not engaged with it anymore. And it was causing chaos in your system, and now it's not. Okay, very powerful. Now, I had told us to stop here, but I'm just going to continue on slightly because I think it sort of rounds out the first part of this chapter. He talks about the emotional realm. And I love how he described emotions can be thought of as energy in motion. Yeah, when we're emotional, it does come with a lot of energy and a big punch, right? That trigger is like, boom, it's right there. And he says, I'm on page 71. He says, you can use emotional disturbance to alert you when you've gone out of balance. The trigger is the teacher, okay? In spiritual psychology, we refer to this phenomenon as school is now in session. So when you're triggered, school is now in session. Pay attention, okay? He says, it is the recognition that provides you with a choice. You can allow yourself to be agitated and justifiably rant and rave about what it was that was absolutely, supposedly flustered you, right? Whatever the external situation is, which ironically only serves to strengthen your pattern of being reactive and crazy. Or you can seek to determine what it is about the upsetting circumstance that has disturbed your peace, and you can work to heal it. External world plus your internal response equals your reality. They're saying your internal response, you can choose to just get angry at the external world. That shouldn't have happened. It could have been differently. You didn't have to do that. I didn't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't change reality though, and makes you stressed out. Or you can say, why am I getting triggered about this? Is it because I don't feel that I'm being heard? Is it because I feel like people aren't listening to me? What's actually getting triggered? And then you go, oh, well, that's just something from my past, because as a little kid, no one ever listened to me. And I was always talking, but no one ever listened to me. Adults in my life just ignored me. That's a wound from the past. That's what you're working on. This is what we're talking about. Okay, this is school that's in session. That's the stuff that you can actually heal. Stop waiting for someone to heal it for you or to just treat you perfectly. No one can do this work for you. This is your work. This is your soul's evolution. All right? You want to explore the responses you're having, those emotional disturbances. He says spiritual development is an individual, not a group process. My teacher always says to me, I can't do this for you, right? He says, your guru can't do this for you. He says, your parents can't do it for you. Your partner can't do it for you. Your kids can't do it for you. God can't even do it for you, because you have to realize the truth of who you are, the soul, the God within you, the divinity within you. And only through that realization does this work actually get done. That's how it operates. All right. That's what this is all about. And hopefully this makes sense. Again, this book was recommended by AI based off the stuff we talk about. And it's an interesting perspective. You know, I've gone deep in yogic philosophy because I feel that it's proven through thousands of years. And it's, to me, the most direct, like, to the point. They've got the tools, the techniques to take you into this truth. But there's a lot of access to this truth. And spiritual psychology seems to be another access point. So it's really interesting to kind of dive in and see how they talk about this. And in the second half of this chapter, which we'll read next, page 72, what does it end on? Page 83. This is their pragmatic model. So this seems to be the model through which they look at life. And all these things are really helpful because it's going to click for somebody out there when you see it kind of put out like this, and how consciousness, how you're actually functioning in this world. And once you understand it, once you understand the problem, you can address it. Now, next week, I am at an event on Monday, so I won't be able to do book club live, so we'll meet in 2 weeks. All right, so we'll finish out consciousness in a nutshell in a couple of weeks, and I look forward to it. Guys, share this with somebody that needs to hear this. Listen to it again. There was a lot we talked about. If you want to reply in Telegram with any comments or questions, please do. That community is there for you. Tina says, Dorian, I want you to do it for me. I know. I can be a guide. I can show you the map. I can explain to you how to walk it, but you got to walk it, right? It's kind of like, I could teach you how to swim, but eventually you got to get in the water and do it, okay? And only you can. No one can do that for you. So, sending you lots of love. Have a fabulous, fabulous week, guys.